Welcome to another Based Marriage podcast. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about parenting. I don't know if I should say more because I don't think we've ever talked about parenting in the first place. Anyways, I'm a counselor. I work with teens. I work with kids. I work with parents. I work with teens that have, their parents have significant concerns about them. And so I kind of get the information from the parents, and then I get some information from the kids, and we have a few sessions, and I go back to the parents and I say, hey, you're messing this thing up. This is really hurting your kid. Here's what you can do differently that's going to help quite significantly. I think that as a parent, I'm doing a pretty decent job because, for one, a lot of people tell me I am. For two, my kids are happy, and I know what things are destructive to a kid's life, and I'm keeping those things out of their lives. And my kids tell me that they're happy, and they display that they are happy, and they're building meaningful and fruitful relationships with me and my wife, with other kids, and even with other adults. So I'd say that that's a pretty good mark for being a good parent. Anyways, I've also helped a lot of parents, in overcoming issues with their kids, and I see that when they apply the techniques to their relationship with their kids, the problems that their kids have tend to work out. They disappear, they evaporate, they overcome them. So today we're going to do a parenting episode. First thing about parenting is you have to understand what your children are. What is your child? Your child is, there's the line in Jurassic Park where Sam Neill says something like, what are kids? And she says, and Laura Dern says, smaller versions of adults. Well, they're not smaller versions of adults. They're a lot more than just that. So when a child is born, it knows nothing. It has zero experience. It has zero knowledge of anything. It's basically just pure instinct. And at that age, instinct is not developed well at all. Babies cry. All babies cry. They cry for a number of reasons. They have different kinds of cries that they instinctively will cry. They're not choosing them out of a book and saying, oh, I feel gassy right now. I'm going to give this particular kind of cry. Or I'm sleepy right now and nobody's letting me sleep. I'm going to cry this kind of cry. Or I'm hungry. I'm going to cry this other kind of cry. They're not thinking these things out any more than a chicken is thinking out chasing a beetle that's crawling on the ground. So the child is essentially just instinct, and in that being the case, you can train a child, but you have to train the child based on what is good for it. And I think I'm getting ahead on this, so we'll talk about child training later. But parents have a lot of ideas about what they want their child to do in this young stage of life, but it is contrary to what a child needs because they don't understand what a child needs. If you look at a thing called attachment, a child needs to develop its identity based on the healthy attachment from the parent. That's basically that the parent, they're not attaching to the parent, they're attaching to themselves through the relationship with the parent. So when a child cries, let's just talk about 1 year old and under. When a child under the age of 1 year old, and I'm not saying that 1 year old is when some kind of major developmental change happens. I'm just talking about early. So let's just talk about very, very young children. When they cry, how a parent responds to that is going to teach a child a lesson, but the child is not going to have the ability to reason their way through it. There are a number of different things that I use to inform how I understand this. So there's attachment. There's second, there is, was it Harry Harlow? I always remember it based on Harlow's House of Horrors, because in grad school we had to learn about Harlow's experiments where he took monkeys and some of them died of like sadness or whatever. Anyways, there was you've probably heard of this before, but there was the monkey. He had two baby monkeys. One of them was put in a cage with a basically like a plush toy monkey mother. Okay, it wasn't a real mother, but it was soft. It was squishy. It was warm. And then so the baby monkey, given food and water, and this stuffed animal monkey, was able to cling to it and, on an emotional level, get what it needed from the mom. The mom wasn't actually giving anything. It was a stuffed animal. But the monkey went, oh, I feel this sense of closeness. This is great. There's this security. And the monkey did all right. And then he had another monkey at the same time. And this baby monkey, he gave it the same food, the same water, but he gave it a wire monkey. So basically, it was like a bundle of wire, like an elongated bundle of wire. I think it might have kind of had like a stuffed animal monkey head, but the body was just wire. And so the baby monkey didn't have anything soft and warm to cuddle with, and the baby monkey died. And Harlow believed that the baby monkey died because it lacked that emotional closeness, emotional nurturing, the softness, warmth, and it's not that the monkey froze to death or the monkey died of hypothermia. It died of emotional neglect, more or less. Almost kind of like the mind just gave up, or the monkey's animal soul just gave up. Well, nothing's going to take care of me. Nothing is taking care of me. And then just dying of lack of closeness and of despair. So knowing that is innately built, at least in baby monkeys, and then finally, so number one being attachment theory, you develop your sense of identity and sense of self based on your interactions with others. Number two, Harlow's soft monkey mom versus wire monkey mom experiment. And then number three, what is her name? Meg Meeker's statement that your child believes about themselves not what you believe about them, but what they think you believe about them. So those three things are kind of the basis of my parenting approach. Feels like there's one more. Anyways, that last one, your child believes about themselves what they think you believe about them. Not what you actually think about them or what you actually believe about them, but what they think you believe about them. So a child at a very early age is only instinct, the instinctual need for closeness, for being cared for, nurtured. Also, when you're playing with a young child and the child is done playing and kind of gets fussy and starts to kind of like dodge your view and turn away and all that, the child's communicating he doesn't want to play anymore. And so it's important that a parent let the child disconnect and go, oh, okay, you're done playing. All right, we're done. And then you do what the child wants. And so basically, at least for that first year of life, let's say 2 years of life, Jordan Peterson puts it this way: the child is always right. That's essentially true. If the child wants or does not want a thing, you just do what the child wants. Okay, so I belong to I have a community of people. There are a lot of people I'm friends with, and we all go to church together, and we know each other, and so I'm around a lot of people and a lot of families and a lot of kids. There's a good example of this. If I walk over to somebody and they're holding a baby, and I hold out my hands like this to hold the baby, and the child doesn't just lean right into it, I go, okay, great, no big deal. Give the child at that age, the child is saying, no, I don't feel comfortable with you, I don't trust you, or I just want to be held by my mom or my dad or by this other person. I don't want to go to you for any reason. Don't make the child go to the other person. You're telling that child, it doesn't matter what you want. You're going to this other person to satisfy this other person. Like, that's the wrong priority. What are you forming in that child's head? You're forming in the child's head, don't trust your instincts. Don't trust what you want. What you want doesn't matter. What the everybody else wants matters. You exist to serve everybody else. So we need to give to our children what they need. And you can give them extra. Like God gives us everything we need, and he gives us extra. Like we're not just out here like subsistence farming or something, and that's all we ever get. Oh, if you're a good Catholic, all you're going to get is subsistence farming. That's it. You'll never get anything beyond what you need, and you're just going to be like, that's not true. God gives us so much, way beyond what we need, because he loves us. That's tricky. Seeing a good father is a good father that gives to his children what they need and more, but not in a way that spoils that child. He works for the goodness of the child, for the formation of the child. He gives what is needed to the child and more, but not in a way that's going to spoil a child. So the mindset of a parent needs to be, I need to give to my child what my child needs. At no point should I be taking from my child what my child needs or taking for my own gratification. Now, that doesn't mean that you give your child everything that your child says he wants. And there are going to be times that you're just going to wound your child, and that's just part of it. But you don't want to do that on purpose, and you don't want to use that as a bank account like, well, it's okay. I can wound him a few times and he'll be all right. That's probably not a good mindset to have with it. The world will wound your child in a bunch of different ways, and you, just on accident, are going to wound your child in a bunch of different ways. Some you will know about and some you won't, because remember, your child doesn't even have access to the use of reason until like a minimum of 7 years old. And when he starts to get that use of reason, he's going to suck at it. She's going to suck at it. And then even though your child has the use of reason, the prefrontal cortex, which is the piece of your brain that's stuck behind the middle of your forehead, behind this hard thing, that doesn't even finish developing until your child is 25 years old. And that part of your brain is responsible for moral judgment. This is why, like, you have teenagers who are beyond the age of reason. They have the use of reason, and they make dismally awful choices. That's just what a teenager does. They're lacking that prefrontal cortex to be able to make those good moral judgments. So you have to know what your child is in all these things. You have to know your child's capabilities. I saw this meme, I'll put it up here on the screen, but I saw this thing the other day, and it says more or less something to the effect of, do you know how humans react when we see puppies? We're like, oh, look at the cute little puppy. Oh, we know what a puppy is. We know that a puppy is completely lacking in discipline, training. It's going to poo all over the floor. It's going to chew on your table legs. It's going to pee in your socks or pee in your shoes. It's going to dig holes and escape, and it's going to run out into the street. Like, it knows nothing. It's just nothing but a ball of energy and yay, playfulness and all the rest. And they're really cute, and they're essentially chaos. I wouldn't say disorder, because for what a puppy is, for a puppy, they are rightly ordered. They are what a puppy is supposed to be. But there's no order to it. It's just chaos. They're going to do all these things that are predictable. Heck, they're all predictable things. And so we know what puppies are, and we get excited about, oh, look at the cute little puppy. That elephants, so the parts of our brains that light up when we see puppies are those parts of the brain, the same part of the brain lights up in elephants when they see us. Like, the elephants are like, oh, look at the cute little person. Look, oh, look at the person. Almost like elephants know what we are better than we know what we are. It's just an interesting observation. Anyways, God is the same with us. God knows what we are. He knows that we are very broken. We are dismal failures in a bunch of different ways. We really can't do that much. We can't really do anything for the benefit of mankind, for salvation and all the rest, in the path of salvation, the plan of salvation, without the grace that he gives to us. Like, if what you're doing is not motivated by love of God or duty to him, then it just doesn't matter, flat out. So God knows what we are. He's not sitting up there going, man, you're just screwing up left and right. Man, you're on the path to hell. This isn't going to work. He's not sitting there just watching you and then being critical and then waiting for you to screw up so that he can then zap you with lightning and send you to hell. Like, that's a jerk. That's what a jerk does. That's what the devil would do. I'm bound to these rules that I can't bring anybody to hell unless he's in this particular legal standing. So I'm going to wait till he gets into that. And now I got him. Like, that's the devil. But a lot of people believe that that's God. It's not. That's a jerk. That's not love. That's a legalism and someone who really wants for you what is bad. Now, there are a lot of people in hell. I don't know who they are. I could probably guess. If you've read anything about the Epstein files, you know that there's no way that hell is empty. There isn't. You would have to be one of these welcome refugees type women to believe after reading the Epstein files that God is like, oh, we'll just welcome them all. Wouldn't it be great? Like, you have to get rid of the entire concept of that there is justice at all. Otherwise, if you believe that the people in the Epstein files who did all the awful, heinous, horrible Epstein file things, if at the very last moment God gave them the grace to say, God, I'm sorry for all the things that I did. I am a sinner in need of a Savior. Will you please help me? Then what's the point of ever trying to be good in any way? That doesn't mean that we should all go off and be Epstein people. But, like, what does it matter if you're going to have a deathbed conversion? If hell is empty and in the end, no matter what anybody does, God's going to bring him to heaven. Like, what's the point of even trying then? Just do what you want, right? So that's a goofy thought. But God is not, he's not the legalist waiting for you to trip up so he can take you down. That's what the devil does. He waits for you to trip up so he can take you down. Habitual mortal sin is all over the place. It's no secret that Catholic men, just as much as every other kind of man, struggles with pornography addiction. And that's my specialty. I work with a lot of men who struggle with that, and I work to help them overcome that. And as much as they fall into sin, confession is available. It's available every day. For pretty much everybody I've ever worked with, at least in America, confession is available every day, either by appointment or before Mass. But confession is available every day. You can get to confession. So there is a tremendous amount of sin, and also God's just sitting there like, yeah, man, come on back anytime you want. Oh, yeah, you can come to confession every day. I think I've known somebody who actually went to confession twice in a day. Actually, I've been to confession twice in a day. I went the first time, and I walked out and went, oh, shoot, I forgot this other thing. It was actually pretty important. And I went back and got in line again and I said, yeah, it was like 15 minutes ago was my last confession. I forgot this particular thing. And the priest is like, all right, beep, beep. I absolve you, and then move on. But Christ is always there with open arms, welcoming us back when we go back to him. And he's not sitting there going, well, you never came back to me. Like, how many stories have you heard? And I'm not saying bet on this, because that's presumption. Don't make this your plan. But how many people have you seen who fell away from the church for 40 years and then, the last 2 weeks of their lives or the last, 4 hours of their lives are like, hey, will you please send me a priest? Or even how many times have you heard the stories of the priest comes by and would you like to hear last rites? And they're like, yeah, Father, I would. It's like, that's God. He gives us all these chances over and over and over and over. And he's not going, shoot, man, I gave you all these chances. Why do you keep rejecting? Forget you, man. Nope, sorry. That's it. Like, he doesn't run out of patience. He doesn't, we use these, what's the word? It's that word where you give human characteristics to animals. I know, you're shouting it at the screen right now. You use human characteristics, anthropomorphism. We're guilty of anthropomorphism in trying to describe God, but God isn't human. God is pure spirit. But he's not human. But we don't have a way to describe God without using words that we use to describe humans. So when he doesn't run out of patience, he has a timeline for certain things, and he goes, okay, from here to here, this is what's necessary in order for humanity, in order for grace, in order for humans, or in order for my plan to go forward. From this period to this period, it's going to be like this. From this period to this period, it's going to be like this. Here's what the Roman Empire is going to do. It's going to be the persecution of Christians and all this and all that. But he's not sitting there watching going, hey guys, you got a short amount of time, and if you don't get this together, I'm going to kick your ass. And then he's like, doggone it, they just didn't do what I told them to do. Like, he's not surprised by anything that I do or that you do or Elon Musk does or Donald Trump does or Bibi Netanyahu or anybody. It's not a surprise to him. He knows it. He's allowing it to happen. And he loves us all anyways. And he keeps trying to move us in relationships closer to him. And he has his is an emotionless experience. Because we have the faculty of emotion. He doesn't have the faculty of emotion. God doesn't become sad. God doesn't become happy. So, what? He's virtue. He is rightly ordered love. He is. So when you see David and the rest writing about it, they're not wrong, but the language is insufficient to be able to describe God's actions and all the rest. And yes, one day each of us will meet the end of our lives, and that is all the time that you have for choosing. So I strongly encourage everybody who's listening, please choose today, right now, and every day, choose to try to live a life that's pleasing to God. You're going to fail. We all do. Everyone has, except for the Blessed Virgin Mary and Jesus. But even St. Joseph did and all the rest. You're going to fail. And God knows this because he knows what you are, which is a human, which is fallen. You're not a surprise to him. He knows what you are. He knows what choices you're going to make, and he's going to continue as long as you're baptized and trying to live a life that's pleasing to him. He's going to keep leading you down the path. I mean, you can see this in people who go through conversions. Shia LaBeouf, Charlie Kirk, they go through these conversions of themselves where they believe this one thing, and then you see the grace kind of moving in them in a trajectory, in a progression throughout their lives, continually moving toward truth. Not just truth of knowledge of things, but truth in a spiritual sense as well, like a more rightly ordered experience of things and a recognition of humility and love for Jesus, and experience of humility and love for Jesus, and what that makes for them and what they're willing to give up in order to have that. So you see that moving. And so as parents, as fathers especially, as much as our children are going to sin, we also must reflect that God, that quality of God that makes confession available for us pretty much at any time, that will always welcome our kids back when they repent, when they're sorry, and all the rest. And then also, how many times do we sin and God doesn't just wait for us to go to confession? He keeps moving us in a direction that's good for us, not taking from us, but giving to us in order to move us to a better relationship with him. And he's not ridiculously punitive in it as well. He's gentle. He's gentle in that he doesn't he doesn't give you more than you can handle. So your kids are trying to live a life that's pleasing to God. They just suck at it. And they might suck at it worse than you, but probably not, because most adults suck at it pretty badly. And yeah. So anyways, specific things. Let's get into the practical. We just kind of finished up on the theological, or we just kind of hit a brick wall with the theological. Let's talk about the practical. Shut up and listen to your kids. Have fewer rules for your kids. The rules that I have are they can't own electronic devices. They definitely can't have them in their bedrooms. We have phones that they can only access like podcasts, but it's like kids' podcasts, and they can only listen to these, and they have to listen to them in public spaces, meaning like in the kitchen or in the living room. And they can't all be listening to them. They can't be listening to them on headphones. They got to listen to them where we all can hear them. It's not that I don't trust my kids. Okay, to a degree, I don't trust my kids because I know what my kids are. My kids are lacking the prefrontal cortex, and my kids are innocent. And the world is full of people who deliberately try to get nasty stuff in front of children. People who don't care about them. People who are not looking to safeguard them and who are like, oh, shoot, well, some kids got into this. We'd prefer that kids didn't listen to this, but like all you have to do is go to kids' YouTube or whatever and just see the absolutely horrible, disgusting, morally degrading and degenerate material that's on kids' YouTube. Or you go sign up for, a Minecraft account or what was that other one? There's another video game. They did something like this on the Sean Ryan show where the guy signed up for a new account and within like 12 seconds, predators were already there trying to take advantage of him. So we definitely don't let our kids get onto that. But shut up and listen to your kids. If your kid is having any kind of an emotional moment, stop whatever it is that you're doing and just notice it. Notice it out loud. Wow, yeah, you're really upset. Fair enough. Man, looks like a lot of frustration. Notice that what they're feeling and say it out loud. Slow everything down. The second your kid is emotional about something, just slow everything down. If you are trying to go to church and you're trying to get out the door and your kid throws a fit, right in that moment say, okay, we're just going to be late for church and that's okay. That's it. We're going to be late for church, and I just have to accept that that's going to be the case because the long-term formation of my child is more important than getting to church on time. You don't want to wound your kid in their experience of going to Mass or going to church. You're definitely going to program the wrong things in there. Going to church is a very stressful time where dad gets mad all the time because we're always late, and mom and dad fight on the way, and then he's passive-aggressive or angry or just silent the whole way there, and on the way back, he's not very happy either, and so Sundays are just pretty much a bum deal because my dad gets irritated that we're all late for Mass. Just be okay being late for Mass. Slow down. And people don't seem to understand the importance of emotional regulation. If you want your child to grow up with the best chance of success in becoming or in staying Catholic, you as the parent must learn emotional regulation and also notice when your kid is emotionally dysregulated and learn how to sit down with your child, shut the hell up and listen to your child. Let them cry and don't rush at all. Your child is frustrated about something stupid. Fair enough. So you sit down there with them, get at eye level, maybe have them sit on the couch with you or next to you, or you go sit in their bedroom and go, yeah, tell me what's going on. And nothing in the world in that particular moment, nothing else in the world exists except for you and that kid. And you listen and go, God, yeah, that seems like a rough time. Yeah, fair enough. Your brother hit you. Okay. That is really frustrating, isn't it? Yeah, I don't like being hit either. Yeah, that's normal. That's perfectly okay to not like being hit. Yeah, that is frustrating. What can I do for you? Do you want a hug? No? Yeah, you make some really good points. Yeah, you didn't like how I reacted. Okay, fair enough. That's the second thing. You have to be willing to take criticism. You have to be willing to hear your kids tell you you screwed up without you getting defensive and deflecting. Shut up. Listen to your kid and go, okay, yeah, you didn't like that. Fair enough. That's not the language. I'm not telling you to agree or disagree with your child. Use language that just simply says you make a really valid point. And then don't try to argue how your child was wrong. Don't. You're going to build in your child this wall up against you. Well, my dad always has to be right about it. Every time I make lodge a complaint with my dad, he turns around and tells me how I'm wrong about it. Like, don't do that. That's you taking from your kid rather than giving to your kid what your child needs, which is to be listened to and to say, yeah, you make some really fair points. It's the emotionally immature parent who goes, ooh, that stings. I got to tell my child now why they were wrong. I have to be right. My child can't be. That's not his place to tell me, to criticize me or to tell me all the things that he doesn't like about me. That's you taking from your child rather than giving to your child because it's based on your emotions. And then you're trying to justify it about respect or whatever, but it's not a matter of respect. Your child doesn't even know that particular concept of respect yet. A lot of parents try to get respect from their children. That is more of fear mimicking as respect. And so they'll yell at or demand of their child to react in a certain way, and the child is then made to say yes sir and yes ma'am. And they're like, okay, there, my child's respectful. And it's, no, your child is fearful. And they use language of respect like yes sir and yes ma'am. But your child is scared to death of you. And that brings us to the next point, is the idea that a parent should teach the child healthy fear because hell is real and because they need to have a healthy fear of God. And so if I can teach them how to have a healthy fear of me, they're going to have a healthy fear of God. But what ends up happening is they're not taught a healthy fear. They're taught a very unhealthy fear. They're scared to death of their parents. It's not your job to teach them. You teach them reverence. That's probably how you can teach them fear. And I think one of the best ways that I have taught my son about fear is we go camping a few times a year, and it seems like almost every time there's a thunderstorm. So we're out in the tent, and there's the lightning, and that's kind of scary. There's a lot of lightning and a lot of thunder, and so there's the healthy understanding of, yes, the lightning and the thunder could do this thing, but they can't do it without God allowing. The lightning can't strike us without God allowing it to happen. Yes, it is a very big thing. We don't want to go around and play swinging metal poles in the sky trying to tempt the lightning. We don't want to yell at the lightning and be, you can't hurt me. We don't want to be prideful to the lightning. We don't want to offend the lightning. Not because the lightning has any kind of rational power to then go, I'll show you. But it's kind of like, don't go dance on the edge of a cliff. Have a healthy fear of the cliff. And so showing my kids, by being near those situations, I think teaches that healthy respect, healthy fear of, okay, the cliff isn't going to like reach up and grab you and then yank you into the ground or yank you to the bottom of the cliff where you're injured or dead. But the cliff is a thing that you must be respectful of. Don't go dance at the edge of the cliff, tempting fate, doing foolish things. Don't go tempting God. But God, remember, is not the devil. God is not waiting for you to tempt him so that he can just, I got you now. To use another anthropomorphic term, God is patient. He tolerates a lot from us. I mean, how long was Arius blaspheming our Lord before he met his very gruesome death? How long was the Francis tempting and blaspheming our Lord and more or less died a natural death? It was a horrible death. I wouldn't want to die like that, refusing the sacraments, refusing prayer, dying in a catatonic state in a wheelchair in the elevator. I kind of have the suspicion, and I have no way to validate this, but that kind of a death, or that catatonic state of death, I kind of wonder if that was like either A, he saw the face of Christ going, why did you do that to me? Or he saw the face of the devil going, you're mine. I have no idea. That's just in my own thoughts. But the healthy fear, I think you don't want to mix it with an unhealthy fear. You don't want your kids to be scared of you. Look, I work with people, adults, and also teens. In order for a boy to correctly connect with masculinity in a healthy way, he has to have a father that he sees as both good and strong. If the boy sees his father as strong but not good, that's going to cause problems. The boy goes, oh, if that's masculinity, I don't want it. I don't want any part of it. Stephen Fry talks about this in his documentary of Joseph Nicolosi. Milo Yiannopoulos talks about this with regard to his dad, or they describe this kind of relationship with their dad. Both of them, their dads were strong. They saw their dads as strong, but they saw them as not good. They were scared to death of them. Or Stephen Fry was scared to death of his dad, Milo Yiannopoulos. I don't know if he was scared of him, but he went, if this is masculinity, this is not good. This is not what I want. And so there's a severing there, because the father, more or less, for a lot of, he defines masculinity for a boy. And so if a boy rejects his father, then he's essentially rejecting masculinity. Now, if a boy sees his father as good, but as weak, so like a father who is pushed around by his wife, browbeaten by his wife, cowers to his wife, is controlled by her emotions and her outbursts. If he just lets her take the reins like that out of, basically because he's fearful, he can't stand up. Fair enough, because a lot of women are willing to go a lot further in conflict than men are. But if he sees his father is good but weak, the boy will go, well, I don't have a good role model of what strength looks like. And I'm cutting off my dad because that's a pathetic example of manhood. I don't have anything else. This is weakness. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. So the dad must be seen as good and strong. And remember what we talked about. The boy doesn't believe about himself what the father believes about him. He believes about himself what he thinks his father believes about him, what he thinks his mother believes about him. So if a father is strong, but the boy believes that the father is not good, then the boy's going to have problems. If he believes the father is good but weak, the boy's going to have problems. So it's very important for dads especially to pay attention to, am I showing my son what is good? Am I showing my son what is strong? I need to be both. I can't be pushed around by his mom, but I also can't just be a jerk, like slap her or anything. Like, there are ways that you can change your relationship with your wife. First of all, you need to be praying a rosary every day as a family or as a couple, period. Just pray the rosary every day. Start with that. It's not going to make things all flowery and wonderful and great, but it's the glue that will keep you from leaving each other at the very least. So you got to at least have that. It's not the job of the dad to toughen up his kid, to be sarcastic, to go, well, the world's not going to treat him well out there. The world's going to tear him up and spit him out. So I got to make sure I toughen him up for that. No. You're supposed to be his safe place. You're supposed to be the place where when the world chews him up and spits him out, that you're going, hey man, yeah, that sucks. That's really rough. Sorry that hurts. Like, even when you're an adult and the world chews you up and spits you out, you got to have a place to go where you can go tell somebody, a brother who is able to go, yeah, I'm sorry that happened. That sounds like a rough time. You got to have somebody in your corner. And if you don't, you're deluding yourself into thinking that you're okay, that you're doing all right. Everybody needs somebody in their corner. Maybe it's not all the time, but from time to time, you got to have somebody in your corner. A guy that's going to support you and tell you, man, that sucks. I'm sorry that happened. It's going to be all right. Let's keep going. You're going to be all right. So you as the dad, you have to be the guy in the corner, in your son's corner, in your daughter's corner. You have to be in their corner. Now, we got to treat sons and daughters differently because they are created differently. They're 90% different, 10% similar. They're built for different things with different preferences, different ideas, different emotions, reactions. They were created for different purposes. Like a Ford F-150 and a Chevy Corvette were created for different purposes. You can't tow anything with a Corvette. But also racing in an F-150 is just not, it's not going to keep up. So you have to be strong and good. You have to learn how to sit down and listen and shut up and not give an answer, but say, wow, thank you for sharing that. That was really important to me. Do you see how there's not any kind of like agreement or disagreement language in that? Hey, thanks for telling me about that. It sounds like you're going through a really hard time. Thanks for telling me about that. What you tell me is important to me. I'm not going to tell my kid, okay, well, I'll make these parenting decisions differently, or I'll change those the way that I do this or that. I'm just going to say, thank you for telling me. And then I'm going to deliberate and go, what does my child actually need? Like, my child told me these things. Is this just my child being disappointed about a thing and telling me, and that's just part of life's disappointments? Or is this a thing that as a parent I really should change because I'm not doing this well? This is harming my child. Have they given me input that this is actually harming my child? And then you deliberate without telling them which direction you're going to go with it. But you tell them, yeah, okay, thanks for telling me. I really appreciate that. And don't do it sarcastically, because that's a taking rather than a giving. So you have to be strong. You have to be good. And I'm talking about dads. Moms, don't be strong. Not like that. Women's pursuit of being strong like that, and we'll have to do this another day, but women's pursuit of being strong like a man is strong is a woman pursuing masculinity, which discounts her femininity. And no, you can't choose, well, this time I'm being feminine because I have to be, and this time over here I'll be masculine because I have to be. No, be feminine all the time. God created men, created dads. And no, you can't fill the gap of, well, he doesn't have a father. His father left, so I have to be the father. No, you can't. There's a giant body of evidence that shows that women who try to be the dad end up with kids with severe problems. Period. A woman cannot be a man for her kids. You're not capable. It's like a goldfish trying to be a shark. It doesn't happen. You're not able to. Or a puppy trying to be a finance banker. You weren't created to. You can't do it. So stop deluding yourselves. We'll talk about women more another day. I talk about women a lot anyways. We're talking about fathers today. You got to be strong and good. You have to learn how to slow everything down. If you're playing baseball and you got a whole bunch of kids with you and you're out playing baseball and you're hitting fly balls for all the kids and one of your other kids is swinging a bat and getting nearby and it's unsafe and they're hitting balls they're trying to do what you're trying to do because they're trying to imitate you, and that's cool. Put the bat down. Get down on your knee at eye level with the kid and slow down and talk quiet. Say, hey, I see you're swinging the bat. So notice what they're doing. You're swinging the bat. Hey, that's pretty cool. You're trying to do what I'm doing. Notice that that's the effort they're trying to do. Kids will try to imitate their parents because they think, hey, my parents pretty cool that they're doing this. This is great. Put the bat down. Put the game on pause. It's okay. The other kids can wait. It's going to be all right. And say, yeah, tell me about that. Well, I'm just trying to hit fly balls like you are. Okay, cool. Do you want to come hit some right now? Like, adjust what you are trying to do in that moment so that you're not just steamrolling your kid so that you can continue doing what you want to do at the expense of kind of taking a kid and making them more emotional, pissing them off. Like, I'm not saying don't piss your kids off. I mean, they're going to get pissed at some points anyway, but it's not necessary. There's a lot you can do to not just avoid it, but you can change things differently. You can change things so that you have a more meaningful and connective experience in that conversation rather than a dismissive experience where the kid's going to fester and build and get pissed and they're going to become a problem. And I've seen this a lot of times that kids become like the problem pouting kid, and then the parents like, stop crying or stop fussing or whatever. Like, don't do that stuff. If your kid's going to cry, let them cry. You sit there and go, yeah, so you have a lot of feelings right now. Fair enough. Like, connect with the kid. Stop trying to make the kid fit into this box so that you can do this thing, and instead recognize what the kid is capable of, which at this moment, the kid's only capable of being emotional in the moment. So connect with the kid on that level, eye level, and saying, yeah, okay, so you're having kind of a rough time. And all the other kids are, come on, he's always a crybaby. He's doing it. And go, okay, y'all hold off. Y'all play catch with each other for a few minutes. And then stay there with that kid and go, okay, yeah, so that's a hard time. Fair enough. Yeah, you want to be able to hit pop flies. Yeah, okay. Well, you have a choice. You can wait until I'm done and then you can hit some pop flies. Or you can sit here on the bench. Or heck, you can hit 5 pop flies right now. Hit the ball 5 times. And then you'll be done with that. And you can either go catch the ball with the other kids, or you can come back and sit on the thing, or you can build little sandcastles and, on the third base line or whatever you want to do. So figure out a way to help kind of bring that kid back in, give them choices, and then just follow through on those choices. And they might, no, I want to do more. No, fair enough. I would want to do more too. So acknowledging it, kind of find a way to agree and then move on from that. So recognize the child's emotions at that moment. Yeah, okay, so you hit the 5 pop flies, but you don't want to stop. You want to keep going. Yeah, fair enough. You got a great point. Of course you would want to do that. Validate the emotion. Oh, he always wants validation. No, this is what children need. Stop belittling emotional validation. You need it too, but you're not getting it. That's why you're a grumpy rump poo poo poo. Okay? You need that emotional validation, emotional connection, and without it, you've become very hard. That's not really a great thing. I don't need emotional connection. I don't need friends. I'm past the age where I need friends. Everybody needs friends. Everybody needs friends. Everybody needs somebody in their corner. So, connect with a child. Figure out how to kind of adjust your plans so that you don't have to steamroll the kids' emotions, because they are, first off, they are instinct when they're young, and then they become a little bit about appetite and then about emotion. And so they don't develop into real ability to use the faculty of the intellect until much further along in life. So yeah, you do have to connect with them on an emotional level, and connect with your spouse on an emotional level, and listen to your spouse when they're frustrated and go, yeah, okay, that sounds terrible. And learn how to sit there and shut up and just listen. You don't have to give input on all the little things. You don't even have to give an agreement or a disagreement on all the little things. Just simply acknowledge that that's what they're going through and go, yeah, fair enough. That sounds like a really discouraging time, really disappointing experience. Yeah, it is hard to deal with, isn't it? Yeah, sometimes I feel sad too about it. Like you can, if you want to, just relay in general a little bit about your own stories and your own experiences of feeling that way and go, yeah, that's a pretty normal thing and it's really hard to deal with. I agree. And don't follow up with the word, but you have to blah, blah, blah. They know that part. That part comes already. You don't have to say that part. Just simply validate the emotions. Validate meaning say out loud what they're experiencing and let them move on. It's been shown in study after study after study about people who are validated. Yes, you are feeling a certain way, and I acknowledge that you're feeling that way, and it's okay to feel that way. That they end up having a much stronger sense of identity and emotional regulation, that they're better functioning as adults than those whose emotional experiences are pushed off to the side or smothered. So connect with your kid when your kid is upset and all the rest. Don't yell at your kids. It's not necessary unless they're about to get out into traffic, but you better have some quick feet to be able to pick up and catch them before they hit traffic. But then when you get to them, don't yell at them. You know what you did? That's a taking. You're doing as the parent, I feel angry. And I feel scared and I feel out of control. I feel the feeling of out of control because I almost lost the kid out in traffic. So I'm going to yell in order to feel more in control. That's a taking from the kid because the yelling part is not going to make the kid function any better. It's not going to fix the problem. They're going to be scared to death and they're going to experience quite possibly the sensation of shock where you're yelling plus the cars and all of that was so intense that the mind can't process it, the psyche can't process it, and so it becomes a point of trauma in their lives. And everybody's got a little bit of trauma. Everybody needs a little bit of trauma, disappointment, hurt, whatever. But you as the parent don't want to be the one to dish that out. You want to try to avoid you directly inflicting trauma on your kid and let the rest of the world do it because there's more than enough to go around. Y'all ever seen one of these before? This is kind of cool. Look at this. It's got a piece of porcelain right there. It's called a mustache cup. Because I have a mustache. And it keeps the coffee from getting on my mustache because then I can... The porcelain goes up against my mustache. It's essentially an old-fashioned travel mug, but without the top. It's not for traveling. It's just for drinking at the table. So you don't get the coffee or tea in your mustache. Yes, I thought it was pretty cool. We first learned about those from the movie McClintock. One character gives another character a mustache cup. And he's like, oh, it's a mustache cup. And then we saw one on a historical tour of Oakland Plantation out in Louisiana. And then my kids got me one. I think it was for Father's Day or for my birthday last year, which was really cool. I think it's hilarious. It's funny to me, which was really cool. And I think it's hilarious. I like it. I drink out of it every day. I don't know where it came from, but it looks like it was a hand-painted little, look at that little cabin. You got the deer and the trees. Yeah. Somebody hand-painted that sometime. There's not even a brand on the bottom or anything. But, yeah, that's just a neat little thing. Oh, shoot. There was another part that I wanted to talk about. Going off to college. This is the craziest thing. So I went off to college. I went off to a few colleges. That was fun. Anyways, that aside, some of my daughter's friends are going or reaching the college age. And it's a really interesting thing because a lot of parents go, well, I don't want to give my kid a phone, but I'll send my kid off to college. And so they rightly see that giving their kid a phone is to give the world full of psychopaths access to their kid. But then they go, I'm going to send my kid off to another city, state, maybe even country, to go live away from me for 4 years around a whole bunch of other kids whom you don't know. Even if it's at a Catholic school, there is a wide experience at Catholic colleges of Catholic life, and there are not a few Catholic students at these places that are getting into sinful lifestyles. It's widespread. It's not that they're necessarily promiscuous, but they get into long-term relationships where they do things and put hands where they don't belong. And it seriously clouds the minds of both the young man and the young woman in whether or not this is a healthy relationship. They become slaves of their passions, even if they're not going all the way. They become slaves of their passions, and then they can't really accurately discern whether or not this is a good, healthy relationship, and the person they're with is husband or wife material. What is it? In the Spirago. The Catechism Explained, he talks about that a relationship with that kind of physicality to it always ends in an unstable marriage, or a marriage with a lot of pain in it. Your mind, your judgment gets clouded because the payoff on a physical level and an emotional level is so intense that you will overlook all the red flags. You're essentially just living for those moments. And if you're incapable of saying, hey, no, this is not we're not going to do this activity, and hold that line, then you are just living for the emotional and physical payoffs in that relationship. Might be a great person in a bunch of other ways, but whether or not the two of you match up is important, because it's not enough to be Catholic. You also have to have certain emotional maturity, emotional temperaments, and a whole variety of other things that you work together. And so if you are acting out in these kind of physical ways, you're essentially just drunk in your relationship. You're not able to use right judgment. So these parents, or maybe they let their kid have a phone at 16 years old, but 2 years later, they're like, oh, but my kid's mature enough to go live on their own and make their own decisions without any kind of supervision. Oh no, the other kids over there, they're good Catholic kids too. They're not. They want to be good Catholic kids. They're trying to live lives that are pleasing to God, but they suck at it. And pretty much nowhere on campus in close, intimate relationships are there healthy parents helping them guide through on a daily basis. This is probably not the best relationship for you. They're instead going to get probably a lot more of people who are supportive of them when maybe they shouldn't be. And remember what we talked about, the prefrontal cortex not being fully developed until 25 years old? Well, at most colleges, even Catholic colleges, almost nobody is 25 years old there. I mean, you have teachers and whatever, but your teachers are not going to be intimately involved in your life as an individual student like your parents are. So it's just funny to me and completely unreasonable that parents are thinking about sending their kids off to school, even at a good Catholic school, when they don't trust them with a phone. And again, it's not necessarily that they don't trust the kid with a phone. They don't trust that the rest of the world isn't going to get their hands on the kid. Well, if they're not supervised, because that's what's happening is with the phone thing, is that you're not there sitting with your kid to make sure that the bad guys of the world aren't getting access to your kid. And so the same thing with going off to college. Well, you're sending your kid off to college. And yeah, there's great. It's mass. There's mass every day. There's the sacraments. All these kids are doing all the things. Yeah, and then behind closed doors is where things get a little sketch. And now it depends on the colleges. There is a degree to which there is more of that or less of that. There are some colleges that have much warmer climates where immodest dress is a much bigger problem than, say, some of the other colleges like in the cold Midwest, where it's just too cold to be dressing immodestly. And things still happen there. And there aren't parents walking around going, hey, you know what? I really like that you're interested in my daughter. You're going to keep your hands off of her or I'm going to break your kneecaps. Like, nobody at the school is doing that. And an 18-year-old girl does not have the maturity and the mental wherewithal to be able to say, let's not do that. No. There might be one at the school, maybe two. But in the right situations, when a girl has strong feelings in favor of a boy, strong affections, she is more likely to give in to doing things that maybe they're not going to pay off for. If that relationship goes kaput, she's going to regret it. Let's put it that way. She's more willing to do things to compromise her morals in certain behaviors, because women are created to be followers. This is not a denigration of women. It's simply a matter of their creation. They were created to be followers. Eve was created to be the follower of Adam, to be a helpmate, to be support staff, kind of like all the other staff helps out SEAL Team 6. SEAL Team 6 are the guys that go out and fight, and then they also have people who do their laundry. They feed them, they clothe them, they clean the toilets, they do all the other things. Those are extraordinarily important I think we just saw with regard to Iran that the plumbers are one of the most important categories of people in the military, because a lot of soldiers apparently did not want to go to war with Iraq, and they were on the ships, and so they started jamming T-shirts down the toilets in order to clog up the toilets, so that the ships had to go back to dock in order to be fixed. Thus, it took them out of the battle. So we found that plumbers are one of the most important or an extraordinarily important role in the military as well, because if there were no plumbers, then that ship would never sail again, because you can't just have everybody leaning off the edge of the aircraft carrier, if you know what I mean. Anywho, so a wife is that kind of support staff, but she's not the tip of the spear. She wasn't created to be. Those who are acting as the tip of the spear, they are grasping at masculinity or trying to display masculinity, a quality which they can't have. It's an artificial masculinity, and it's disordered. Disordered meaning it is contrary to right order. And you see this because the women who are living that masculine tip of the spear role in the family suffers because of it. The husband ends up in a place of disorder. The children are in a place of disorder. No, they're all still Catholic. Let's take a look at their relationships and their emotional life and their perception of the world and their experience of the world and the jobs that they do and all the other things. It is disorder that comes from that. So women are made to be followers. You have the masculine athletic man at school, and he's, oh my gosh, him in the comfort of his masculinity, that is perceived by the women around him. It elevates his marketability on an emotional, instinctual sort of level. His masculinity is attractive to her femininity, and so the women then become more submissive under his mission. And if his mission is not to keep his hands off and do what is good for her, to protect her chastity, then she's going to give into his masculinity. She might have, no, we can't go that far, but she's already gone so far. And a woman's psychology is that if she goes a regrettable distance in the relationship, she will continue working to try to make that relationship work so that she can say in the long run, okay, well, it wasn't a total loss. I didn't have to regret it because the relationship ended up working out, so it was okay. Whereas if all the same things happened, but then he breaks up with her, she experiences that as regret. So the only thing being the outcome of the relationship. That's how a woman's psychology works. So sending your daughter off away for school, in my opinion, is a bad idea, because women need fathers. They were created in such a way that they're followers. Fathers are there to say, hey, yeah, okay, you like my daughter? Come over for dinner. Let's go sit on the porch and talk for a while. And you get a read on this guy, and you can figure out, well, maybe we should have him around more. Yeah, this would be all right. But you have to have a real watchful eye. You have to be judicious about whether or not this is a good guy or a bad guy. Not whether or not your daughter likes him. That's immaterial, whether or not she likes him. If he shows up, he basically has to earn the right to show up more. And you don't ever let them do things like cuddle under a blanket on the couch. Never. No. Holy smokes. First guy that ever tries to do that at my house is going to get a very quick invitation to the front porch and out to his car and be invited to never come back. That's not okay. No, you don't get to cuddle under blankets until you're married. Sorry. Plus, we don't have a TV for you to sit in front of and watch. And we get it out of the closet and put it up. But it's not like a default setting in our house. We're very interactive. So sending them off is to basically say, and it's almost like it's the default for a lot of people. They're like, well, she's 18 and, so she's going to go off to college. Why is that the default? Why is that a automatic state of life? that's not good. Like, I think during the reign of Biden, or the masked man posing as Biden, I don't know, he or it stated that, what was it, 1 in 3 women had been sexually assaulted in college. I think that's true. And there was a lot of pushback about that. And I'd say it would be believable if you said 1 in 3 women experienced regrettable sexual activity. So maybe they said yes, but in the long term, they regretted having done that. I could believe that. 1 in 3 had regrettable sexual activity. Anything beyond kissing. But that's a subjective experience. I don't think 1 in 3 was sexually assaulted. That's not even real life. But you don't want to send your daughter off to that. Like, it's pretty clear they're not capable of saying no and upholding it. And a lot of young men are not capable of saying, no, I'm not going to do that either. So if that's the case, why would you send them away from where you, under the protective eye, are able to keep tabs on them? You shouldn't. So don't play into the game of, oh, but this is what you do, and it doesn't matter what they do. They used to do all kinds of things in order to keep the volcano god pleased, so he didn't blow up all of civilization or their tiny little island or whatever. Like, who cares if that's what they do? We're not doing what they do. We're trying to do what is best for our kids. And going off to college doesn't seem to have been that great a thing, particularly for girls. Maybe for guys it's a bit better. Guys are conquerors, guys are developers, guys are builders. They've been given dominion over creation. But the psychological and emotional effects of women, because men and women are created differently for different purposes, different stages of development, different charisms, if you will. It does not seem to have served women well to go off to college. It just doesn't. Women need a father around. And this is self-evident because without a father, they end up with daddy issues. That is a very clear stereotype, but stereotypes come from somewhere. It's a thing that is frequently observed in nature, human nature, but it's frequently observed. A girl without a dad around is going to end up with daddy issues. She's going to be a little bit more worldly, whatever. Anyways, all right, that's about all that I have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Like I said, if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer with regard to parenting or marriage in general, you've got my contact information, whatever. You can find it online. Shoot me a message on YouTube, whatever. You can visit my Substack, bmpnation.substack.com. Yeah. So I want to end today by just reminding, and I think I might do this for every podcast episode, reminding everybody of these few truths, because it seems that these are not as clear to people, especially Catholics, as maybe they should be. Number one, Jesus Christ is the Messiah, the Son of God. He is God. You can look at John chapter 1, John chapter 8. I would just read the whole Gospel of John if you like. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are pretty good too. Jesus Christ is the Messiah. Number two, baptism is necessary for salvation. Number three, God loves you more than you know. Number four, God is not a jerk. Number five, the devil seeks to make you believe that you are unlovable by God, or to teach you that God is a jerk, or both, in order to divide you from God. Either that you are unlovable or that God is a jerk and does not love you, or that God's a monster. So the devil's going to seek to do both of those things. Number six, give to your children. Do not take from your children. Number seven, when emotion is involved, slow everything down. Number eight, the worst thing that can ever happen to you is that you go to hell. Number nine, the best thing that could ever happen to you is that you go to heaven. I believe that's going to be it for today. Y'all have a great day. God bless you. Bye.